Healing childhood trauma with mindfulness and therapy. Have you ever thought that your past affects how you think, feel, and even talk to other people? Things that happen in childhood, especially ones that are painful, can leave marks that last into adulthood. But what if you could get better and be at peace no matter what? The scientists who are working to assist those who have survived abuse as children are people who I have a lot of respect for. The field of psychological research encompasses a wide range of professionals, including those who are experts in statistics and spend their days analyzing the effects of abuse over a longer period of time, as well as clinical researchers who are researching and developing novel treatment methods. When you watch this, you also see an aggregate of how many people are committed to making the world a better place. There is research on all aspects of child abuse, including quantitative, qualitative, and experimental research. Although it can be difficult to sift through the material about something that is so senseless and sad, it is important to note that this research is available. When you realize how many experts have devoted their careers to ensuring that abused children are able to survive and grow, you might get a sense of the compassion and support that is out there. Through all of the experimental research that I have read about in school, the thing that excites me the most is when researchers come up with treatment approaches that are both portable and inexpensive, especially when they give survivors the ability to care for themselves and heal. There are treatments that are really inexpensive, that can be performed anywhere, and that do not require someone to be tied to a professional in order to be practiced. Isn't that a very freeing concept? Over the past few years, a group of experts from Harvard University has devised just this kind of liberating alternative for young people who were abused as children. Their findings provide compelling evidence that we have the ability to consciously rehabilitate the structure of our brains. Due to the fact that I find this subject to be really fascinating, I am going to devote some of my time to studying neurobiology. The process of learning the map of the brain is comparable to learning a map of a parallel universe, which is a cosmos that we have always known existed, but have been unable to witness in detail. At this point in time, we have a window that is getting more and more detailed into the physical structures of our brains, and we are beginning to have a better understanding of the mental processes that are more abstract. The act of reading this new map gives me a sense of optimism. It is a source of motivation for me to know that there is a part of our body that is responsible for establishing our sensations and emotions in the material of our flesh and in the actual space. I mean, I am aware that in the event that I get a physical injury, I am able to seek medical assistance and participate in physiotherapy in order to recover my muscles, bones, and ligaments completely. But what if I find out that the abuse I've been subjected to may have an effect on my brain? It appears to be really terrifying. Is there any way that we can help that particular section of our body to recover? In 2019, Diane Joss was a PhD student at Harvard University when she started conducting research on several approaches that could help people recover from the effects of childhood trauma. Through the use of funds from the National Institute of Health in the United States, she headed a group of researchers that investigated the potential benefits of mindfulness-based stress reduction for young adults who had suffered years of abuse. A series of interventions that were specifically designed to meet the requirements of survivors, the majority of whom were in their mid-20s, were made available through a program. During the course of the 6-week program, participants learned how to deal with stress through meditation and yoga, as well as how to communicate effectively with others. The underlying practice in mindfulness has nothing to do with becoming overly fancy or pricey. While working in the developmental biopsychiatry research laboratory at Harvard Medical School, Joss built her curriculum. Martin Teicher was the professor who designed the program, using the same tools that Teicher had used to chronicle the effects of childhood abuse on the brain. Joss used the same methods to evaluate the impact that her program had on the survivors at the neuroanatomical level. Teicher had spent decades studying the consequences of childhood abuse on the brain. She focused her experimental evaluations on the hippocampus, which is a region of the brain that is vital to our capacity to recall the things that we have learned and to manage the emotional cues that are associated with stressful situations. With the help of the hippocampus, we are able to determine whether or not a certain circumstance poses a threat, which can be a difficult task for those who have survived. It's almost as if we had a malfunctioning danger meter. We frequently perceive a threat when there is none, or we fail to recognize risks that would most likely scare away the majority of individuals. Because of this, we are constantly confronted with a great deal of ambiguity over our capacity to defend ourselves. There is a region of our brain known as the hippocampus that plays a crucial role in that ability. Approximately 3.5 centimeters in length, it has the appearance of a seahorse and is a tube that is curved and placed deep within the core of our brain. Researchers in the field of neuroscience are enthusiastic about the neuroplasticity of the hippocampus, which is defined as the capacity of the hippocampus to continue producing new neurons even after the individual has reached adulthood. As for me, I am ecstatic as well because this indicates that regardless of my age, I can still acquire the skills necessary to build trustworthy connections and to make them secure. It is unfortunate that the adaptability of the hippocampus also makes it particularly susceptible to the effects of persistent stress. When compared to individuals who have not been abused as children, the size of the hippocampus in certain individuals who have been physically or sexually abused as children is much smaller. The years of research conducted by Teicher prove that the stress of being abused as a child could potentially have a long-lasting impact on the development of our neurological infrastructure. When he examined the brains of survivors at various ages, he discovered that the presence of lower gray matter volumes throughout the hippocampi was associated with the presence of childhood abuse. A cascade of later life symptoms, including anxiety, depression, substance use, and disrupted personal relationships, had already been demonstrated to be connected with childhood abuse. This association had already been established. The findings of Teicher demonstrated that a smaller hippocampus is also a consequence of childhood trauma. Joss and her team had a straightforward hypothesis. The volume of the hippocampi may potentially rise following the practice of mindfulness. She established two groups of people who had survived childhood abuse. One group participated in a stress reduction program that was based on mindfulness, and the other group served as a control and was placed on a waiting list for the intervention. In order to determine the size of the hippocampal gray matter volumes of her patients before and after they participated in her mindfulness-based stress reduction program for a period of 6 weeks, Joss and her colleagues utilized magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, which is the same technology that enables us to take a photograph of the inside of our lungs for the purpose of cancer screening. Following the completion of her program, an MRI examination found that a cluster of hippocampus gray matter volumes in the mindfulness group had grown by 76% in size. To put it into perspective, imagine if you began training weights and after 6 weeks your biceps had nearly doubled in size. Nevertheless, it is not your biceps. Rather, it is the region of your brain that regulates stress and assists you in learning. The control group likewise experienced a size reduction of 78%, which was equivalent to what they observed. The control group claimed that they continued to experience high levels of stress and anxiety in contrast to the mindfulness group, which reported lower levels of stress and anxiety. The researchers speculated that the reduced hippocampus size of the control group might be connected to the fact that they continue to experience stress symptoms without receiving treatment for them. In the absence of a preventative stress reduction program, it would appear that the hippocampus will continue to gradually decrease in size. In a manner that is analogous to the well-known proverb regarding physical activity, which states, "If you don't use it, you lose it." Your hippocampus will get smaller if you are constantly stressed out and do nothing to alleviate the tension. Antidepressants, novel experiences, and regular exercise are all approaches that have been shown to be beneficial in increasing hippocampus volume. These approaches are available to individuals who are looking for ways to heal from the effects of childhood abuse. On the other hand, it is undeniable that mindfulness meditation is an outstanding hippocampus enhancer. Despite the fact that Joss's research did not specify which treatment paradigm within her intervention was the most beneficial, was it the yoga or the interpersonal communication skills? Join us as we explore powerful practices and insights every week to help you on your journey.